Thank you, Sasha. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Ericsson's Rick Mallon, who's the head of Product Line BSS customer and partner engagement. Rick, welcome.
Thanks, Aaron. Delighted to be here.
Thanks. How are you, Rick?
I'm good. It's been a while.
It has, and I'm really delighted to be talking with you today about humanizing the customer experience. We've been talking over the past couple of days about, 5G, beyond connectivity, and how we can unlock that 400 billion of growth as service providers go across their digital transformation. One of the main goals, as we talk about with operators investing in 5G networks, is to build an ecosystem to really be at the heart of that. But it gets quite difficult when, you're wanting to offer a number of different services. So how can service providers go about that and actually open themselves up to, that ecosystem and manage multiple offers?
Well, I think there's three things they should be thinking about. One is to have a master product catalog technology that allows them to do that, allows them to take information coming from all sources and make products out of it. The second big piece of thing that's changing in their environment is coming from the network itself. So we're seeing new technology, 5G network slicing, we're seeing network functions being virtualized. These have to be mastered. These have to be turned into sellable components inside the catalog. And then of course you have partners themselves. And what's changed from just a few years ago is partners can now come in that catalog themselves. They can come in through the TMF open APIs. They can ingest and insert offers right into the part of the catalog of this the service provider, and go about making money. And the provider still controls the access to the offers to the marketplace, but basically that's changed quite a bit.
And obviously with multiple partners, managing that customer experience becomes very, very complex. It's more than just about managing catalogs. It really is about personalizing that experience. How do you think service providers can do that and make sure they remain at the heart of this ecosystem? Otherwise, they just become connectivity providers.
They've really got to take a hard look at their operations. And if you take a look at some of the more popular applications from Apple, from Uber, and so on, and how they've done a good job managing the customer experience, mimic that. Take your learnings from there. Make sure that you're dealing with your customer at touch points that they want to deal with you. It could be across many different channels. It could be from social media applications just as much as the mobile apps. But it isn't the old traditional way. They don't necessarily want to be on the phone to somebody.
No, absolutely not, Rick. And I think, when we're talking about 5G offers, I think one of the big things that changed with this is actually the flexibility, how dynamic they need to be. I think we're going to be much more offering services based on consumption, for example. So that really requires, what we're offering to be very dynamic. And maybe that's where 5G slicing comes in. We can maybe up and or turn down services. How are service providers going to react and to do that? Is there a best approach that you can recommend?
Well, we're starting to explore with the operators the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in this area. So if you think about just a few years ago, you would do one offer, whether it's for the consumer space, and you wouldn't change it. You would send it out to try to mass market that. What we're seeing now with AI is you can actually market down to much smaller micro segments inside your customer base. You can give them a far better experience than they're receiving today.
I think that's something, a really great part we'd like to talk about. And I think definitely micro-segmentation is one of them. If we think about basic connectivity service such as broadband, I don't know about you, Rick, but I certainly go for the 200 megabits per second, the highest I'm allowed to get. So that's where I think most people are going. They want as much bandwidth as they can consume at the fastest rate. But that's why micro-segmentation becomes really important, because you want to understand what services they're using, not just, the fact that I've got a big pipe. So how is that evolving and changing?
That's changing really fast. So what we're doing now with our new machine learning algorithms is taking a hard look at all the customers' data on a very one-to-one level. So we have put in place AIs that allow them to analyze that customer database in real time, allow them to create these market segments, allow them to align products to those market segments, those small segments, as opposed to having this sort of broad stroke approach. And the idea there is you're getting two things. You're getting a better customer experience because the customer is getting more what they want. It's tailored to them, but you're also getting more revenue per user because you're able to upsell other components they might not have known you had even, but that fit well with that service.
I mean, Rick, there's a lot of hype around AI and what it's going to do for the improving that customer experience. And I think, there's two parts. I think you've touched on that. One is around the management and operations, so making sure that the reliability, the quality of service there. But then the other side is actually, for that hyper personalization, and also really on the way we interact, on that what we call the true customer experience on the interface. what are you most excited that AI machine learning can do for improving the customer experience on the side of the customer?
Yeah, I think, if you were a customer of an operator and suddenly the operator was telling you this is the product for you, yeah, this we know exactly who you are, we know how you use the service, we've invented a product for you, wouldn't that be better for their customers? You'd be happy to have that phone call and get that kind of personalized treatment. And you can do that now with these AI, so they allow you to tailor products specifically to people. And it's been difficult in the past because you've been sort of using characteristics like age or income bracket or other measures to try to figure out who this customer is and what they want. But now you can actually have much more fine-grained detail about how they're using your services, and help them help them get the best product for them.
And that's absolutely right, Rick. I mean, one thing I talk a lot about is this Generation C. It's all about curation, community, collaboration. It's no longer defining your customer based on age range. It's no longer ticking a box, are you 21 to 30, etc. You're absolutely right. It's about individual consumption and being a part of that community. But really, a lot of that is about personalization. Do you think that, with AI algorithms running on a network, there's actually, a chance that we actually get away from that human interaction, because everything's going to be done, either over an app or a chatbot? What is the role of the human in actually giving that experience?
Well, I think what we're seeing now is that we're trying to free up humans from mundane tasks. So tasks that can be automated, tasks that can be handled by an AI. If these can be done by a machine, essentially, that frees up the human capital to pursue that personal touch when it's needed. So, we certainly see this with AI chatbots, for example. You put an AI chat. If we use chatbots today, and today the chatbots are pretty good. They handle about 70% of normal queries, and it's only the operator, the agent, gets involved for that last bit. But when you put an AI chatbot in, it watches the conversations the agents are having with the chatbot or with the people, and it gradually learns. So it gradually handles more and more conversations by itself without having to refer that to an agent. And so you're freeing up the agent to deal with more complex tasks, spend a bit more time with people if they need to answer a question.
Rick, one thing that really concerns me when we talk about customer experience, and those people who tuned in to the last session that I was on would have heard it, and it's really about, when we talk about customer experience and AI, we're talking about, oh, well, we can digitize the channels, we can make the customer experience much easier when there's a complaint. But my question is, why are customers complaining? You go online, if you go on Amazon or other websites, you order something, and 99.9% it arrives in a box, at your home exactly where it's intended to do. So how can AI machine learning actually help the customer experience on the other side to make sure there's fast and effective delivery? Because my concern when we talk about this, it's all about complaint handling as opposed to being proactive in customer care and actually stopping the complaints before they happen.
Well, there's a number of AIs that we've also put in the network, so they're much more on the operational side of things, but they're looking for things that we couldn't really detect before. So this is stuff like an impairment in the network, not an outage, but an impairment, and that would affect the quality of calls. You'd start getting latency jitter and that annoying situation where you can't quite hear the other person. That happens still today, but with AIs, we're able to detect these more in real time. The remedy for that could be you need to put more hardware in, or you need to update a virtual circuit to give more capacity. But these are things we're now starting to do much more rapidly, and the idea there is the complaints go down, right?
And I think what we're also seeing is the changing nature of work is also affecting with operating. I mean, it's all about work and play in the cloud, and those two merging together. So do you think there needs to be a merging in terms of the customer experience? Because maybe there's not going to be the same distinction between enterprise services and home services. If people are working from home, they need those enterprise grade services based in their home office. I mean, I remember all the time my internet used to go down. It's a big problem if people are going to start to work from home. Do you think AI machine learning is going to be critical for this new work play in the cloud?
Well, I think again, of course, with COVID, we're all working out of our homes, so the network patterns have changed dramatically. The operators have done a phenomenal job adjusting to the fact that there's no one downtown anymore in the offices. They're all at home, so all the patterns have changed. It's put a lot of stress on the network, and they have spent time, money, to look at their bottlenecks and fix those issues. Some of that's just no AIs needed. It's just hard work they had to do. But they have been using AIs to detect congestion patterns and so on, and they've been resolving them with either by putting in more hardware or adding more virtual capacity. So that they have managed to do.
And we're often talking now, about more open digital architectures. I think, which are more flexible, the data driven, they're API led. What is the importance of standardization in this, Rick? Because I think, we are at a time where if we don't have more standardization, the network's going to become even more complicated. And actually, we get more vendor lock-in because it's going to be hyper personalized for each operator.
Well, I think it's been critical for the operators. I think they've been sort of plagued by lack of standards in the BSS OSS space, such that they're trying to take advantage of vendors and capabilities, but they have to then integrate it, and that's where all the cost is. So when you have a real commitment to standards across the industry, you're able to plug and play components, and so you're able to take advantage of this, the different capabilities of different vendors and mix and match them. And so that's a super clear benefit from going to standards based. It should unlock a lot of innovation. It should lower the integration costs at the same time.
And do you think service providers are innovating enough in their new customer experiences? Because innovation is going to be the key to survival.
We're working with operators now. We're doing things like we just didn't think were possible a couple of years ago, but we're building an AI now that is capable of creating product offers by itself. So what it does is it analyzes your existing products. It looks for ones that are successful. It looks at usage patterns. It looks at customer complaints. It's able to analyze that information and predict that if I were to add another 100 minutes of free voicing to this package, it would actually be pretty popular, and it's able to create that product by itself. And the product management person still approves that, of course, before it launches, make sure everything else is okay, and then they can launch it quickly. So it allows them to create new products faster than ever before with the use of an AI.
So it seems like, we've still got the human at the center of all of this, as you're saying, with everything you've talked about today. You're saying, well, the AI might come up with a new product, with a new innovation, but actually there's still somebody there approving to make sure it can happen. Do you think that's a good way of safeguarding the customer experience and the products and services that are available?
Yeah, I think this is a journey. I think, AIs have a lot of potential. The first phase that we're in the middle of right now is really augmenting humans to do, more with less, right? So the AIs take a lot of mundane work off them. They're able to analyze large chunks of data and come up with answers quickly and provide those insights to humans who can make decisions. What we see with something like this AI-driven, offer creation is, at first you have many, many, many approval steps. You have many groups that are involved in approving, and they want to make sure they give that approval from operations to finance to marketing, et cetera. But over time, what we see is they begin to trust the system and trust its output. Their need for approvals is less and less, right? So we've seen that happen. We've seen that journey. It takes a year or so to get through that kind of process. You have to believe in the system and trust what it's doing.
And Rick, when we talk about, improving the customer experience, we often talk about, things like digitizing the workflows to make sure, that that's done so we can effectively resolve problems. And then when we look, well, the other side that we also talk about is actually about simplifying the product catalog. That's the number one thing that a lot of talk about. But with all these new dynamic offers, potentially, could there be much more complexity there? And is that a problem, or is it okay? Because actually it's the AI managing it, so actually you can maybe handle different types of bundles and offers.
Yeah, I think when you use the TM form specifications, the SID specification in particular, to its fullest advantage, it allows you to create building blocks. So as opposed to having tens of thousands of things in the catalog, you have hundreds typically. So if you do a good job at managing the building blocks, reusable building blocks, you'll find that your catalog isn't that complex. So we've managed to control the complexity at that level through the use of the standard and through the use of just good hard architecture work.
I think that's, again, in the catalog where open APIs play a critical role, because then you can look at everything from, all the way from order all the way to service delivery. Do you think that's really important for simplifying that, so actually you can have a very clean line and, standard APIs and data flows?
Well, it's critical. If you look at the issue for the operators, I want to get better time to market. So I want to create a new product. I want to launch it as fast as I possibly can. And in the past, that was quite difficult because they'd have to go into many, many systems, and it's the same product, but they'd have to sort of type it in 12 different systems, very manual, very slow. You make a mistake. I've seen people have a different price in different channels, somewhat catastrophically sometimes, and give away free phones by mistake, things like that. With a catalog driven approach where you're doing this in the catalog and then you're putting it in exactly one place and all the other systems are reading from that catalog, they get their data from there, you are able to launch much faster and error free.
And when we talk about, back to around the humanizing the digital experience, there's still people very wary about AI machine learning, all the way from C-level executives down to people, on the ground, and also the customer who are actually going to be consuming their services, but through using AI machine learning. How do you think we can build people and much more trust, in the AI machine learning and what you're going to be implementing?
Do you know, it takes time, and I think we've built an AI, and it's quite interesting what happened with it. So it's a similar interest recommendation AI. So what happens is, if you're a CSR, you're an agent, you're on the phone with a customer of yours, and they're asking about, I think I want to change my plan. I'm not quite happy with it. Most times, agents, without any help from any AIs, 70% of the time, they're able to give a good answer to that customer. Here's a new plan I think meets your needs better. And the customer accepts that plan the first time without any more need to stay on the call and keep the call going longer. So this happens better for the customer because they're getting off quickly and they get a better plan, so they're happy. It's a good outcome. It would be
And
nice if you could get that last 30% so that you
yeah.
didn't those guys did have this bad experience, right, where they two or three times are fumbling around trying to get the right product. With similar interest, you're able to say, listen, we've analyzed this particular customer that's on the phone. We recommend these products for him. We recommend, in addition to that, upsells and cross sells so that you can increase your ARPU with the customer. It's all in a nice little panel that shows up on the toolbox of the agent. They can see it in real time and they can decide, do I want to take advantage of that AI based recommendation, yes or no?
I think that's right. It's about being making you comfortable with it and those dashboards and saying, look, it's actually about improving and augmentation of the human to say, do you want these, all about dynamic offers as well. So Rick, what's really exciting you at the moment? What's coming out that you think is really going to be a game changer for customer experience over the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's the application of these technologies. We've seen its benefits on the operations side. We've seen how AIs can come in and deal with complexities in the network, things you didn't even know were going on, and give you those insights. This next wave is about really trying to personalize that experience for each customer, and it's there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, if you look at the infrastructure that has to go in to support, it sounds all nice, but there's a lot of work to do to put in the data lakes to get all the AI food chain going that delivers that final recommendation to the desktop of the agent. But I think that's where the operators can take advantage of that technology and give a better service to their customers.
And is data still a problem? I mean, we're talking there, you're talking about the data lakes, and obviously we talk about APIs. Well, data has to flow right across the systems to get this micro segmentation, hyper personalization. How much is data still a problem?
It's when you put the systems in place, it's probably the biggest problem because it's a lot of data. So systems produce terabytes per day of information that all has to be uh, ingested into the data lakes, into the systems, analyzed and normalized before you can put an algorithm on top of it to get an insight out of it. So there's a lot of work. It's just heavy lifting. Many operators are far down the path of this. They've done a lot of work already, and it's getting more routine to hook up a new product, a new data source to feed into that algorithm.
And Rick, my final question for you in the last 30 seconds we have, what would be your number one takeaway or tip for service providers who really want to improve the customer experience and use AI and machine learning?
Yeah, start small. Yeah, get one or two API, AIs working, and make sure you understand what they're supposed to fix or improve, and track it, measure it before, measure it after, and convince yourself the AI is delivering the benefit. I think that's the best way to start.
Rick Mallon, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you very much.